Let us start here. Supreme Court decision. I will read a paragraph. You can jump in. The Supreme Court ruled that warrantless gun confiscation from Americans' homes is unconstitutional. This was a Rhode Island case. They sided with the guy. The police came to his house without a warrant, and they confiscated his weapons. Why is this important?
I couldn't be more excited about this. It's the United States Supreme Court, to me, reasserting its role as the determinant of what our U.S. Constitution says and means. Regarding this case, Robert, you're correct. Warrantless home gun confiscation is unconstitutional. The home is really, in the eyes of the law, Robert, the most sacred place. In other words, as Justice Thomas wrote, while law enforcement can execute many civic tasks in modern society, there is not an open-ended license to perform them anywhere. And why is that, Robert? Because the very core of the Fourth Amendment is the right of a person to retreat into his home and be free from unreasonable search and seizure.
Now, was this ruling more about... Was it more about the red flag laws that a lot of states, that a lot of anti-gun people are trying to put in place? Or was it more about gun control in general?
I think it's about both. But the red flag laws are a kind of a backdoor way people are trying to come into it, saying, you know, we may have a problem here. Somebody may be suicidal. They may have mental health issues. So that somehow gives us a right through the caretaking function. Again, in this case, the Rhode Island case, the state argued that the community caretaking function of police officers allowed them when someone, it's like a welfare check, Robert. People have heard of a welfare check. This community caretaking function, if they say, and it was the wife who called in saying, well, my husband has made a couple of comments that, you know, maybe he's suicidal, he's worrying me, and somehow the police say, well, that gives us the right, without a warrant, to come into the home and take his gun. And the Supreme Court, 9-0.
9-0. No. Comment on that. Is 9-0. Is this going to be something that possibly down the line, that this 9-0 vote in favor of personal rights, especially in this case pertaining to guns, is this something that in a year or 2 years following a Biden executive order could come back to bite them a little bit?
You know what's interesting about that? First of all, the Fourth Amendment, typically all the justices have seen that one fairly similarly. They sure haven't seen the Second Amendment, you know, the right to keep and bear arms, and in free speech areas, they see that differently too. But the Fourth Amendment, for some reason, especially the home, protection of the home, law enforcement not being able to come in without a warrant, except in what we call exigent circumstances, Robert. If a police officer is standing out in the street and looks in my home and sees me about to shoot someone, they can bust down the door and come in without a warrant because there's an exigent circumstance. But to answer your question about an executive order, I think, and again, we were talking about the Fourth Amendment here and, you know, coming into the home without a warrant. And then the Second Amendment, of course, is if we're talking about semi-automatic weapons. But if Joe Biden issues an executive order trying to in any way limit semi-automatic rifles or anything else, and not go through the Congress to do it, I think it will be enjoined immediately by a group like the National Rifle Association.